so much for joining me this morning. I do promise to keep this training limited to under 30 minutes. I timed it yesterday. It was around 25 minutes yesterday. So I just want to be mindful of your time, mindful of our time together, and just making sure that we cover as much material as we possibly can within this 25 minutes or so that we have together today. So if you are joining me live, shoot me a 1 in the comments, give me a thumbs up. If you are watching the replay, be sure to type in hashtag replay in the comments as well too, so I know that you've watched and you've joined us today. But I tell you what, today, this is a two-part series. So today is day 1 of the two-part series, and we're going to be covering 9 pages in the workbook today. And so really we're going to be covering identifying your pain points within your business. We're going to be talking about mindset. We're going to be talking about values and purpose. We're going to be talking also about your superpowers and what exactly does that mean? That's your highest and best use of your time. Thriving in your zone of genius. What does that mean? How do we eliminate the distractions that are around us to be able to do the important work that we need to do? So that's what we're going to be covering today. Tomorrow is really going to be covering more of the actual planning, how to actually plan out your goals. Okay. And I use the SMART system. So we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. But for today, I wanted to let you know 2 things in particular. First of all, I did create a workbook for this free training that we have. You can find it on my Facebook group. And if you cannot access my Facebook group for whatever reason, shoot me a DM and I'll be happy to send it to you as well too. It's just a fillable PDF. It just kind of helps guide you through the process that we're going to cover today and tomorrow. So if you don't have that workbook, shoot me a DM, message me some way, somehow, and I'll be sure to get it to you. Okay. And secondly, my other big news, I think I've shared it everywhere, but I have to keep talking about it. I'm so excited. One of my blog posts, and it was my how to be a Velvet Hammer Leader blog post, was actually featured in Leaders and Heels, which is a huge online publication that I've worked for, several months to get into. And they finally published it for me. Actually just last week, December 1st. So I'll have to shoot the link on that as well too, but I'm super excited and thrilled to have that level of credibility from a large online publication too. So anyway, but today we're going to be talking about getting it done. And when I say it, I'm talking about the important things. And those could be so many different things depending on what's going on in your business. Is it a certain result that you're trying to achieve? Is it a product that you're getting ready to launch? Is it a new initiative that you're getting ready to launch if you're a nonprofit organization? Whatever it is that you've got going on that you need to plan for in the new year, we're going to talk about how we get the important things done today, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here as well too, because I want you all to follow along on this presentation. Here we go. Okay, and I'm going to put me in the spotlight. I think, nope, wrong button. Here we go. All righty. Okay, so I am Heather Lyle. And I'm so glad that you've joined me here today, okay? I help business owners, entrepreneurs, and organizational leaders just like you stay focused on your infinite potential while I help reverse engineer those end results. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm kind of like Google Map. If you just type in your end destination, I give you the step-by-step directions as to how you're going to get there and help you avoid those super costly mistakes along the way as well too. A little bit about me. I have about 20 plus years of experience in the corporate world, nonprofit, and yes, even education and politics as well too, government and politics. I've spent my career building organizations and businesses from the ground up to working with multi-million-dollar budgets as well. And over my years, I've developed a strong business acumen and expertise that kind of cuts through the distractions and brings a high level of awareness, organization, energy, and results for my clients. But enough about me. I want to focus on you and your business and what your organization might need from you right now. Okay, this past year has thrown everyone off course. We've had to adapt to virtual settings, a loss of revenue. Our clients are facing their own headwinds as well too, and the anxiety and frustration of it all has us just feeling super overwhelmed, right? You've made plans that you've had to pivot. Oh my gosh, I've had to a million times this past year, it seems like. And I totally get it. Thinking about planning for the new year, it just feels like you should be kicking the can down the road versus actually thinking about a plan, right? But I tell you what, if you don't stop and think about what has worked or not worked for your business this past year, you're not doing yourselves any favors, okay? In fact, I'm going to say this much. You're doing more harm than good, all right? Because this world has completely moved to a virtual, online world, now more than ever, you need to stop, you need to rethink, you need to revise, and you need to repurpose as well. And we're going to be talking about how you go about getting the important things done today. And I'm going to give you that step-by-step guide that will get you started too. Okay, so I always love a good quote. So here we go. I thought we'd kick things off with a good Tony Robbins quote. He says, you see in life, lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. And yes, action is exactly why we're here today. You want to make more money? You want to secure new donors? You want to grow a business and attract new clients? Or do you have a big project launch that's coming up? Whatever it is, let me tell you, you've got to have a results-focused plan, and we're going to do just that today. So this webinar was designed to help you eliminate some of those limiting beliefs that we all have from time to time. We're going to get focused on leveraging your superpowers because we all have them. It's your highest and best use of your time and your energy. We're going to be talking about thriving in your zone of genius as well too. And what I mean by that is, how do you eliminate those distractions so you can focus on the real important work that you need to do? And then we're going to conquer those audacious goals as well too by making a plan. And tomorrow we'll talk more about the planning part of those goals. So we're going to dive right on in here. Okay. All right. So what you need to know when it comes to identifying pain points. The only way that we can get the important things done is to identify what's keeping you up at night. What are those burning ideas that you have that are simmering that you think might get you from point A to point B? What keeps you distracted and not focused on results? Do you have a people problem? Do you have a process problem? Do you have a vendor or a client who is weighing on you? Do you feel like your pricing isn't competitive? Do you think that you have a product line that maybe because of COVID isn't relevant anymore, and you're really struggling to figure out what's going to work for you? And I'm telling you, if you're like most of my clients, you likely have many things on your mind right now, right? But I'm going to encourage you to spend a few minutes just to think about, if there was just one thing. I'm big on this, guys. What is the one thing, the one result that you wish that were different within your business? What would it be? What would it look like for you? I want you to take this opportunity to kind of brainstorm some of those pain points, because you likely have a few, but then I want you to prioritize them in numerical order. Okay. And the workbook kind of helps walk you through that step-by-step guide as to how you need to do that. But again, we all have a million things swirling around in our head, but I'm urge you to really get clear and focused on what is your one big pain point. What is the one big result that you would like to see different within your business or organization? Okay. And then I want you to write it down. This is part of that accountability for yourself as well too. So when you write it down, it becomes real. So I want you to do that. Okay. So just take a quick minute and do that piece of it. If you've got the workbook, use the workbook as your guide. Okay. All right. Moving on. Maya Angelou always has great quotes as well too. The real difficulty is to overcome how you think about yourself. And I tell you what, this is so true, right? It's hard looking at yourself in the mirror sometimes. Oh my gosh. But in order to achieve big results for your business or organization, let's get real about who you are and what makes you tick, so to speak. Okay. So we're going to be talking about what's preventing you from growth and success. There's likely just quite a few things that you've experienced this past year that's preventing you from growing and scaling your business or your organization. But I'll tell you that the clients that I've served this past year have one thing in common. COVID has triggered a lot of insecurities, a lot of them. And guess what? We all have insecurities. Even the most powerful and influential leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years, and there's been a lot of them, holy cow, they have insecurities as well too. And it's funny, I listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast, And he said in a podcast once, if you are insecure, guess what? The rest of the world is too. Do not overestimate the competition and underestimate yourself. You are better than you think. Let me tell you, just coming on and doing these live trainings, oh my goodness, all of these insecurities are triggered for me as well too, going, I know that there's plenty of people out there that are so much smarter than me and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I've got a lot of great things to say as well too. So, I mean, it's funny how those insecurities can definitely be triggered. I firmly believe that what separates those good leaders from the great ones is a high level of self-awareness. And again, I've worked with those leaders that have that and those who don't. Understanding and knowing those insecurities and identifying your triggers helps you as a leader in your decision-making process too, and it ultimately, absolutely, 1000% will impact your results, okay? In other words, I want you to be real about who you are and what you want. No one has that crystal ball. Oh my gosh, I tell my kids that all the time. You've got to articulate what you want. Tell my clients that you've got to tell me what you want because I don't have that crystal ball. I can't read your mind. So do yourself a favor and get clear on what you need in order to be successful, okay? So I want to take a few minutes and review some of the questions that I've got here on the slide deck. Some of them may resonate with you. Some of them may not, you know, whatever. Regardless, I just want you to jot down a few things in the workbook or on a piece of paper that you've got handy that you think might be holding you back from achieving your version of what success looks like for you, okay? So then I want you to think about those insecurities. We all go into what I call lizard brain. And I'm sure that you've heard about that as well too, that fight or flight syndrome. When something happens or someone says something that triggers you, we immediately go into that fight or flight mode. And it's scientifically been proven that it can take up to 30 minutes to come down from feeling that way. So here's the thing. When you know those things that trigger you, you keep yourself aware and ready, and you tend to stay calm when things are going crazy around you. Okay, so this is a big deal, you guys. I want you to dive into some of these questions that I've got listed out on the slide deck here to just kind of get you thinking about what are your insecurities as well. And again, just jot things down in the notebook. We'll just go over a few of them. You know, what are those things that give you self-doubt? What makes you feel unconfident? Have you had failures or have been rejected and that prevents you from making progress in your life or business? I mean, again, we have all been there. So just take a few minutes, jot a few things down, just get to thinking about it, okay? Let's go ahead and move on. Again, I'm just trying to be mindful of your time here. Love this quote from John Maxwell. Your core values are the deeply held beliefs that authentically describe your soul. Oh my gosh. We're going to be talking about core values. And for those of you who know me, values and purpose are huge in my world. Okay. And even if you are a personal brand or you're just a solopreneur, we're going to be talking about you and your core values as well. You know, this quote from John Maxwell just sums up why defining your values is just absolutely so important. This is good stuff. We're going to discuss a little bit more about this and how truly values are the cornerstone of business. Okay. All right. So what you need to know when identifying core values. Your values define how you interact with each other. It defines why we do what we do. If you value connections and relationship like I do, then cultivating relationships should be a priority. It's your value, okay? Your values are the cornerstone of your business and in life when it comes to decision-making too. If you know who you are and what you represent, navigating the hard stuff is so much easier to manage. It helps determine the clients that you sign on, the partnerships you ink, and even the people that you hire. I can tell you that for me, my values are integrity, connection, energy, passion, and impact. The work I take on, the clients, even my vendors I work with, I look for and ask questions that align to my values to ensure that we're going to be a good fit. You know, otherwise, you just spend a lot of time, effort, and money wasted with people who don't really align to what you hold dear and near and dear to your heart and to your business as well. So don't do that. Don't be wasteful. Think about these kinds of things. I was talking with a client oh gosh, it's probably been several months ago at this point. She was having some trouble with an employee who frankly was undermining her authority and just kind of being a pain in the rear too. And the problem was with this problem child, I mean, he was an adult, but whatever. He had been with her organization for many years, but had a problem now that she was the one in charge. Okay. She was the boss. One of her organization's core values was integrity. This guy had crossed the line a few too many times with her. She questioned his integrity and how he handled himself in a few situations as well too. And my advice to her was, when having that tough conversation with that employee, was to address how he fractured the integrity of the organization. And that was, again, a core value to the organization. And he needed to fix it, or he needed to move on. As Stephen Covey says, values are the criterion for how you live your life and work with your business. So with my client, she had that conversation, he improved, and life got better for everyone. So that was a great thing for her. But for now, I want you to think about your core values. If you own a business or lead an organization, I want you to think about these questions that are posted here on the slide. Because, frankly, even if you're a solopreneur, your business takes on a life of its own too, for that matter. So think about, what are you passionate about? What lights up your soul? What's important to you? What makes you unique? Those are just three big questions that, gosh, when I was going through a branding process of my own, was it April, May, June of this past year? These were some questions that I spent quite a bit of time thinking about, because truly I wanted to make sure that the clients that I talked to, the people that I work with, really did align with what I wanted. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of pain that, that you're working with the wrong people. So I want you to come up with about 3 to 5 words that describe your values and ultimately your brand. Okay. Jot down those words in the workbook that I provided, or on a piece of paper next to you. You can always come back to them later and revise them. But the point of this exercise is just to get you thinking about, what are those words? What are those things that resonate with you, that really define you, what's most important to you and your business. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on here. Oh, this is so good. I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay. This ties into our core values as well too, but we're going to be talking about purpose. Okay, let's move on here. Defining your purpose. I want you to focus on me and hear this loud and clear. Okay. Your life and business will ever have the level of fulfillment, or you'll be as successful if you don't start by acknowledging why you do what you do. I'm talking about defining your purpose here. Okay. It's your core beliefs and your values. And as Simon Sinek says, it's the reason why you get out of bed in the morning too. I want you to go back to those values that you just wrote down on that worksheet and read those words again. Okay. Just take a quick second. Just read those words again. How do you feel about those words? Do they still resonate with you? When it comes to defining your purpose, I want you to think about just one big idea. What should you be doing with your talent and time that will help others and make a difference? I'm going to repeat this. What should you be doing with your talent and time that will help others and make a difference? So let's talk about a few examples of this here, because I'm sure some of you are kind of like, Heather, that's all great and wonderful and everything, but I sell clothes, or I'm an accountant, or whatever. How do I find purpose in that? And I hear you, so let's talk about it. Okay, so if you're a clothing retailer, you sell clothes. Think about, why do you do it? I have a dear friend, Eden Turntine in Oklahoma City, who has an incredible little boutique in my hometown. And this lady sells clothes because she loves styling women and helping women feel good about themselves and what they're wearing. And she's a phenom at it as well too, for that matter. It truly lights her heart up seeing her customers thrilled to find that one piece that just made them feel great about themselves. Okay. I have another friend who is a financial planner. She grew up with no money, poor family. She struggled as a young adult, got divorced young as well too, and decided to make it her mission to help women, and men too, but really her focus is women, on learn how to save and not be dependent on someone else to help them financially. It was her mission to help people in this way. And she's a financial planner. So what I want you to do is to take a few minutes and think about some of the questions in the workbook. They're also posted on this slide as well too. That'll kind of help you define your purpose, okay? And this is an ongoing process. I can honestly tell you that these are questions that I ask myself on a very regular basis just to make sure that I'm in alignment with the work doing and the people that I want to serve as well too. So what are your strengths? What do you love to do? What have you been complimented on in the past? Just kind of, moving on down the list here. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Okay, think about those things. Think about it, how it aligns to your life and your core values. I want you to take a look at some of the things that you wrote down. And do you see any key themes or similarities? We're not looking to write a novel or anything, but we are looking to identify the reasons why you love doing what you do. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a quick drink here. We're going to be talking about superpowers. And I know this is a term that is used a lot online, but really what it is your highest and best use of your time. Okay, and everyone has it. Everyone has those superpowers. No one is you, and that is your superpower. Okay, we're going to peel back those layers here in a minute. Here, I'm going to go back to that just real quick. But let's get down to the brass tacks of this concept. I have worked with many leaders who spend their time focused on either the wrong things to advance their business or piddled around doing things that they could have easily delegated to someone else. You know people like this. I'm sure you've had bosses like this before in the past too. And I'm dead serious. I've worked with many, many leaders who have done this very thing. And why do they do it? I think that for some people, there's fear in really tapping into your strengths, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of imposter syndrome, fear of what if someone else thinks that I'm making the wrong move? You name it, there can be fear, leading with your superpowers. The problem with this type of fear is that it holds you back from progress, right? It holds you back from making the profits or making the connections or whatever the case may be for you. When you're not focused on what you do best, you will not achieve the things that you set out to achieve, right? Have you really spent time diving into what are your superpowers? I want to dive into that real quick here, okay? Focusing on your superpowers is absolutely critical to your success, like I just said earlier. Your superpowers are those things that combine your passion with a mastery in a particular skill, okay? So how do you know what those superpowers are? Again, I want you to ask this question. What is the highest use of your time and skills? Okay. You're going to hear me say this a lot. When I talk to my clients, when I talk to people that, that are asking me for business advice and that kind of thing, I always go back to what is your highest and best use of your time and your skill sets. And that's where you need to be focusing your energy. If you're amazing at cultivating relationships, then you as the leader need to spend the majority of your time and energy cultivating those relationships. I want you to think about the ways that you can exploit your superpowers and delegate tasks that deplete you of your energy and your passion. Even if you're a solo entrepreneur and don't have any staff yet, you can contract with vendors who can help you. Do you need help managing your books? Hire a bookkeeper. Need help with social media support? Hire a VA who has that type of expertise as well too. If money is tight and you can't afford that level of support, then I urge you to, again, get real about spending the bulk of your time doing those activities and leveraging your strengths, and then block time. Actually spend time in your calendar to work on those items on days that make sense for you. We all have days where it's like, I'm feeling like I'm on top of the world and I can conquer everything. Those are the days that you need to be leveraging your superpowers. And on the days where you're like, not feeling it today, those are the days where you need to be doing those activities that really don't leverage your superpowers, okay? I'm a believer in self-awareness and knowing when you're at your best and when you need to do the work that leverages your highest and best use of your time. Know what's going to work best for you and schedule it accordingly. But for now, I want you to think about those superpowers and jot them down in the workbook or on a piece of paper close to you, okay? All right, gosh, this is a really good one as well too. We're going to be talking about working in your zone of genius. And Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. And isn't that the truth? Honing in on your zone of genius just means that you're focusing your energy and expertise in those areas where you're just going to knock it out of the park. Okay. So I want you to think about the areas of your business that you're just absolutely brilliant. Go back to your superpowers, go back to your values that we just talked about. What lights your heart on fire? What are those things that you do that give you energy? What areas of your business or organization do you find yourself thinking, I want to learn more about that? I'm going to bet that if you look at your values and that your superpowers, you're going to start to see some alignment in where you should be focusing your time and energy. Getting crystal clear on what you do best and focusing your energy around that will absolutely 100% take your business to the next level. But for now, I want to talk about those things that take you away from your zone of genius, because we all have distractions that come in many different shapes and sizes, right? And distractions prevent us from doing our best work. So I urge you to develop a level of self-awareness about those distractions. Own them and make a plan to either eliminate them or set some boundaries on them as well. So a few distractions that may prevent your productivity, progress, and profits may include, gosh, we're going to go down a good little list here. Number one, getting sucked into social media and email hell. I said it. It's hell. You know it is. With every ding or buzz notification, you check that inbox or what someone commented on social media. I get it. You know, we all have to check email very regularly, and social media too, for that matter. However, I'm going to ask that you think about setting some boundaries there and only checking email and social media periodically throughout the day instead of every single buzz and notification that you feel on your phone. Again, just do what's going to be best for your schedule, but I just urge you to not get sucked into that, okay? Number two, I want you to follow my 2-minute rule when it comes to email. You have to do this, guys, all right? If you can respond to an email in under 2 minutes, I want you to do it. Whenever you're checking your email, I just want you to get that. If you can respond to it, get it done quickly. If you can't get it done in under 2 minutes, flag the email so you can appropriately handle it when you're ready to do so. Okay. If it's going to take a few days for you to properly respond, because sometimes it does, you know, you'll get an email at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday from, you know, someone who is asking you 20 questions and you're like, oh my gosh, it's almost 5 o'clock on a Friday and I'm done with today. You at least need to respond back to that person and let them know when to anticipate a proper response from you. When you don't reply to the email, you leave the sender wondering if you ever received it in the first place. So just reply back and let them know when you can get back to them with a full response. It's the kind thing to do. Okay. So number three, adjust the notifications on your phone, tablet, laptop, personal computer, or whatever. So you're not being constantly, you know, buzzed with, you know, dings and buzzes and notifications and that kind of thing. Adjust it. I promise you, you'll thank me later for that. Number four. Oh, excuse me. I need some water here. Delete the apps that don't serve you and unfollow those businesses or people who don't serve you too. If you find that someone is constantly posting about how awesome they are and that makes you feel bad about yourself, you need to unfollow or delete the app. Distractions can trigger insecurities too. So if you find that you're yourself not liking what you're see and you're subsequently feeling really, really bad about it, just get rid of it. Okay. And number five, one of the biggest distractions of all is chasing new ideas that don't align to your purpose or your end results. Okay. Where are you headed? What result do you want to see? Don't get caught up with that shiny object syndrome here. Sure, it's great to vet a new idea, but make sure that that idea aligns to your end goal. Okay. All right, let's move on. Oh, this is another good one too. Important versus urgent. All righty, y'all. I have another great quote from former President Dwight D. Eisenhower. I have two kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important and the important are never urgent. This principle is said, he used this to determine his workflow and his priorities and that kind of thing. And I want you to let that sink in just for a minute. You know, this concept is so true. Thriving in your zone of genius also means that you need to get clear on identifying urgent versus important matters and prioritize your own workflow as well. So I'm going to break this down for you. Important activities are those that have an outcome that leads to achieving your goals. Urgent activities demand immediate attention and are usually associated with achieving someone else's goals, okay? Urgent work is often what we concentrate on because it demands immediate attention, because the consequences of not dealing with that will be immediate, all right? When you're prioritizing, get clear on what is urgent versus important. I found myself in a former life focusing on items that seemed to be urgent, but really was just more of this ongoing fire drill with no clear-cut decision-making or taking place, and ultimately just a huge time waster. I'm certain that you've been there as well too, right? I tend to think about it like this. Again, you've heard me say this. What is the highest and best use of your time? That's where you need to be focusing your efforts, okay? If you're the leader, don't spend time picking up t-shirts for a company event. Delegate this to an administrative staff person. You should be spending your time working on marketing and the strategies needed to get customers there, all right? What I want you to do now is just reflect on your priorities. Think about the work that you do and how it aligns with the overall vision of what you ultimately want to accomplish, okay? So take a minute to jot down a few of your thoughts. Here's a couple of questions that I wanted to pose to you too. And again, these are in the workbook as well. Number one, what's the highest and best use of your time and skills? I know we've talked about this already, but I want you to be clear on it, okay? Just ask yourself that question on a very regular basis. What activities and skills are you best at doing? And what are those things that you can delegate to somebody else, all right? Okay. This will be fun. Thriving in your zone of genius means that you must batch your work. Okay, we need to talk about multitasking and how you've got to stop multitasking and start batching your work. Okay, we're going to dive into this concept. I am 100% positive that you or someone that you know claims to be a multitasker. I can think of one person right off the top of my head right now. Multitasking only means that you are rapidly moving in between tasks and not focusing any of your time on one thing. So I wanted to share a few data points on this topic because I thought it was just fascinating. A 2009 Stanford research study found that multitaskers were less mentally organized, struggled at switching from one task to another, and had a hard time differentiating relevant from irrelevant details. Another study from Bryan College indicates that multitasking actually lowers your IQ by 15 points during cognitive tasks and decreases emotional intelligence and brain density over time. Holy cow. In other words, multitasking is literally a waste of time and it sucks your IQ. So you just got to let that crap go. All right. The antidote to multitasking is called batching your work. This means you stay focused on one topic or priority item and you don't bounce around from one thing to another without finishing that item first. In other words, focus does equal finished. All right. So I'm going to give you an example of how I batch my daily work. The other day, I only had about four hours or so to get a whole bunch of stuff done. And as I was preparing for my day, I was intentionally thinking about how I'd use my time. I had two big projects that had immediate items to address and then slotted some time for some thought work and planning with colleagues on future projects and that kind of thing. And as soon as I kind of got settled into my little work area, I hunkered down and went to work on those items that needed my immediate attention. This allowed me the time to be able to freely think about future projects because I wasn't worried about those potential fires that just might blow up on me. I had already tended to it. I scheduled one set of workflows for one block of time and so on, okay? This is just a great strategy to use, and truly you're able to finish your work and be more timely and efficient and that kind of thing versus just a little here, a little there, and you just hope that it's done by the end of the day. You know, John Maxwell had a quote and it says, you know, he says, hope is just a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And I completely agree with that. So stop hoping for the best and be thoughtful and mindful about what it is that you actually want to accomplish. Okay. So let's take a look at the two questions that are posed in the workbook. What are those activities that you can batch on a daily and then a monthly basis? And if you have weekly work, then think about that too and how that fits with your schedule. And, you know, I have to say this much too. I mean, yes, I'm a planner at heart, but I'm also really intentional about how I'm feeling too. So if I'm having an off day, if I've got a sick kid or something is going on or whatnot, and I know that that is not going to be my highest and best use, I won't do some of the big work that I need to do that day. I just won't. So it's just a lot of this is just being mindful about who you are, your space in this world. I know that sounds probably new agey for some of you, but there's a lot of truth in that. It's just being very self-aware as to where you are, how you're feeling. And if you're going to be doing your best work, then do it on the days where you feel like you can knock it out of the park. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. We're going to pick this back up tomorrow. We're going to be talking about actual planning. We're going to talk about pre-planning. We're going to talk about goal setting and a SMART plan, being specific with your goals, measuring those goals, timeliness of those goals, as well as a rinse and repeat and evaluating those goals and that kind of thing. So join me tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time on both Facebook and LinkedIn Live, and we will dive into the rest of this tomorrow. And again, if you need the workbook, be sure to visit my Facebook group or just DM me or email me or whatever, and I'll be happy to send that to you as well. All right. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Take care.